Well, Carl, thanks very much for joining us on CEO Hub.
Thank you.
Welcome. Now, your LinkedIn profile says that as a part of your position, NAB has created a new approach business school. Explain what that means. Is it actually a business school within NAB?
Essentially, yes. We call it the Academy. We're at pains not to just focus on the physical environment we've created, which is literally world leading in terms of the technology and the design, because we also have a very strong online learning capability as well, which is absolutely necessary when you've got 42,000 people around the world and 28,000 here in Australia.
So what do you mean by new approach, apart from being online and a nice environment there? What sort of new approach are you talking about? I suppose it's new for a start. It's new that in the sense that it's inside a company.
Yes, well actually you've hit upon one of the philosophies. It was been quite easy, like other companies, to build this away from the business, but because what we're trying to do is inculcate a learning culture right through the organisation, we decided to build it literally inside our buildings. We have what we call a 70-20-10 approach as well, so that all of our programs are designed to have hard learning, that's the 10%, which we then apply in the 70% of the time we spend working, and the 20% is facilitated by our leaders. It's where we coach people around the learning they've done in the classroom to apply it in the workplace. And the other philosophies are simply that everybody has access to it, there's no hierarchy to it, and we base it around curricula. So there are 4 streams around which we focus our curricula.
So just can we get this straight? All of the staff, or a certain number of staff, spend 10% of their time at your academy doing courses. Is that correct?
Not strictly, no. All staff can have access, but the philosophy is that rather than doing all of the learning in a classroom environment and hoping that people apply it, we actually say that obviously that technical learning or the leadership learning that we do is very important, but so is the fact that you can then take those learnings and practically apply them in the workplace. So the design of the programs gives a pathway for people to take it from the classroom into real life applications at the workplace.
I mean, you're called Academy Dean, but obviously you're not an educator, you're not an academic. Your background is in banking, running the private bank, marketing and strategy at the business bank and so on. Do you have actual academics working there?
We have lots of people working in the area where we design the programs, and we actually contract from the outside as well. So you have organisational psychologists building the leadership programs. Yes, there is a specific unit that builds the programs. And the Academy Deans are deliberately drawn from the business so that we work in that interface between where the programs are built and delivered and the businesses, because we've all been drawn from the business, and we can make sure that what the Academy is delivering is relevant to the business strategy, and that's really our role.
And do you have a Vice-Chancellor?
We do. It's Michael Ulmer, who's our Deputy CEO, and he's played a great role in promoting the whole strategy for learning in the organisation, and many other aspects from our diversity agenda, but been very passionate about this learning culture development.
And Michael's retiring soon. Is there a commitment from Cameron Klein, the CEO, to continue it on?
Oh, absolutely. Rick Sawyers, who runs our wholesale bank, is about to accept the mantle of Vice-Chancellor, and we'll take it where Michael's left off. He too is very passionate about leadership and ongoing education and development.
And he'll continue to run the wholesale bank while also
absolutely
being Vice-Chancellor?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Okay, so CEO Hub, obviously, by the sound of its name, is about being a CEO and examining CEOs. Is part of your task to identify future CEOs and to help groom them to become future CEOs?
Our programs definitely do that. So as the name of what I lead suggests, our programs are around development of leadership more broadly, but very much taking the people we identify into the talent pool through a career-long progression to more senior roles. So our talent programs do just that. They're again world-leading programs that might last a whole year and look at everything from ethics to innovation, and certainly helping people move into a variety of roles around the organisation to prepare them for bigger roles as they go.
So tell us and tell the viewers, what is it about somebody that marks them as a future CEO, and how does somebody who's on the way up mark themselves as a CEO?
I think that what we first do is to think about, alignment to our strategy and the values of the organisation. That's something Cameron Klein, our CEO, has been very strident about since he took over back in 2009, and we've been working very hard towards making sure everybody in the organisation, not just the leaders. But
what does that mean? Does it just mean doing whatever Cameron says?
No, not at all. It means that what we do is we understand the way we want to behave within the organisation as leaders, the way we want the organisation to align itself towards our strategy and the communities we operate in. And then Cameron's very much about giving us autonomy. Obviously we've got accountability, but giving us the autonomy to simply get on with it as leaders and work between us to move the organisation progressively towards those goals. So very much not about do what Cameron says at all.
And so how would you describe leadership qualities in a person?
I think what's obviously becoming more prevalent is the fact that we think about leadership in terms of adaptive leadership, looking at our situation, looking at the economy more broadly from a higher standpoint, if you like. For me personally, it's about two things. It's firstly about preserving the valuable core of an organisation. Organisations as big and old as ours have spent many years getting to the position where they can produce the outcomes for our customers that we do, and obviously the returns for our shareholders. And it's very important that we don't dislodge or disrupt that process as we go. By the same token, especially in an environment like this one, you have to be watching the periphery all the time for threats and opportunities that, as an adaptable organisation, we can respond to. So our leadership cohort are very much now about thinking always about what's just over the horizon, making sure we do take advantage of the opportunities as they arise, and taking our people there as we go. So, and I think the new spirit is very much about seamless collaboration, not structural, as Cameron calls it, artificial constructs that take us there, but much more about having a cohort that works very closely together to a common goal.
And how does a CEO, when he's in that position, know that it's working, knows that he's finally got there as a CEO?
Well, I think there are lots of barometric things you watch, like executive churn, turnover. We have an engagement score that comes out every year, and you can watch those things as lead and lag indicators. But I think there are also cultural signals that you can watch out for. We've been thinking about this lately. We've just had one of this year's graduates join the management board of our new UBank online banking proposition, because we want the voice of the younger person at that table.
How old is that person?
22, I would imagine, if they're like our other grads. So, and that's quite groundbreaking for an established bank. And I think when you start seeing decisions being made lower in the organisation and people having the confidence and competence to do that, then you see that things are changing, and that's going to take us where we need to go.
The academy, as you put it, has been going for a couple of years now. How are you benchmarking whether it's succeeding or not?
In many ways. Obviously, from time to time, direct learning outputs are very difficult to measure. Again, a lead indicator is how much we have demand. So, to what extent are people using the services of the academy? And then how do we measure and see that being applied in the workplace? How do we see competency levels improving? All of which we can measure in different ways. But I think the real measurement is developing quite structured curriculum around certain workforces, and making sure that people from the day they join the organisation can see a pathway to competence which we make as efficient as we can, so that in front of the customer they've got that competence and confidence that we would expect and want to portray to the customer.
So is what you're doing different to an in-house training centre that most companies would have?
Yes, it is, Alan. A couple of differences.
Apart from the names, I mean, obviously calling it an academy and having a vice chancellor and so on are nice symbolic things, but is it really substantially different?
Symbolically, it has been about getting to this learning culture where everything that happens to us along the way, the successes and the failures, we learn from. And other things that we're doing at the moment, for instance, the alumni of our leadership programs and people who are performing highly, in other words, the new talent that are coming through, have an opportunity to join a program called Leadership Ambassadors, and they can play one of three roles, which is facilitation of the actual learning courses in the classroom, coaching and mentoring of up-and-coming talent. So you end up with this critical mass of people joining a cohort that are just building this learning culture as we go, and we've been doing that for a couple of years very successfully.
It's been great talking to you, Carl. Thanks very much for joining us here.
Thank you very much.